So let's get right to the chase. First thing you want to do is, wow, there's already stuff coming to my phone. First what you want to do is check if the plugin or the add-on, call it whatever you want, Taniwa's add-on is installed so that all of, exporting, importing materials, all of that will work. So how you do that is go into Edit, Preferences, add-ons, import export, boom. For me it's checked. If it's not checked for you, boom, check it. Set your game data path right here. Click install shader presets and install config templates, and boom, you're ready to go. Just like that. Oh, and click, yeah, save. So I'm assuming that you already know how to model in Blender, on how to make materials and stuff like that. If not, I really suggest you watch some Blender tutorial, on maybe UV unwrapping or whatever, Blender in general, because if you don't know how to operate Blender, this video isn't really for you, because I'm not going to be teaching modeling or anything like that. So yeah, before you continue watching this, please make sure you know even a little bit of Blender so we can actually do this thing correctly. So yeah, so carrying on, let's start with modeling the tank that we're going to be making. So let's start with a cylinder. One important thing starting off from here is you want the cylinder to be 24 vertices. So here you can set it to 24. Why 24? Because most parts in KSP use 24. So if it's not going to be 24 or 12 or 48, it's not going to be flush with other parts. You're gonna see differences and they're gonna get annoying really fast. So yeah, make sure you have 24 for, like, this tank's gonna be 2.5 meters. So let's set it to 2.5 meters, so 2.5 meters all around. So let's model it a bit. Let's reset rotation and scale. Oh, how should we do it? Okay, let's inset this a bit. Inset this. And extrude this a bit, bevel it down, zoom it down a bit. Okay, perfect. It's kind of flush. Okay, let's remove the excess edges. Okay, perfect. Recalculate normals. Let's make it smooth. Okay, this will be our model. Nothing big, but it's gonna work. Okay, carrying on, what we want to do is we want to texture it. This is where my workflow comes in. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you all about it right now. What I do is I create materials in Blender. Basically, what I do is every part that I need for modding and for KSP, I basically do in Blender. Importing, exporting, materials, texturing, UV unwrapping, blah 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 blah. I don't really need Unity. I only need Unity for very specific occasions that this plugin doesn't yet support, like, I don't know, what was it that I did? Well, some stuff, very specific stuff. But for this, we're going to be using only Blender. Okay, so let's start by texturing this. First of all, we have to start by UV unwrapping this, so let's switch to the UV editing panel. Let's seam it up. Mark seam, select all, U unwrap. Boom, this will be our tank. Let's pack it a bit more so we have margins. Okay, boom, we have our UV unwrap because it's very simple. Then we're gonna create our materials. Let's drag up so we can have shader editing in here. Okay, so new material. Let's start with the grays of the tank. So let's say we want to have the pill tops of the inner tank orange. The outer exterior of the tank, we're gonna have it white, and some gray stuff. So let's start with the grays. Gray 1. Boom. So let's start by creating the material. So For the color, the base color is gonna be something like that. Okay. So then we want to add a mix shader. Actually, yeah, let's set the color here. And then add this, because we're gonna add ambient occlusion. Let's set it to 2 samples because we don't need real quality, because ambient occlusion baking actually, yeah, it's pretty bad for baking. It hits it pretty hard, so we don't want it to bake forever. Let's set this to multiply. Let's set the factor all the way up there. Let's set it to shaded view so we can see the materials. As you can see, it's all gray. Let's set it even darker. Okay, now what we want to do is actually add a grunge map so it looks a bit more quote-unquote realistic. So I'm just gonna pull up my KSP folder and let's go into textures. Where's textures? Right there. Let's let's pick a texture. Where's my scratch texture? Scratch texture, there it is. Let's pull it up here. This is gonna be our grunge map. Okay, let's create a new texture, image texture, and let's select it here. Let's pull up another mix RGB node. Let's set it here, set it to multiply, and add it here. Boom, this is our grunge map. By the way, what you want to do is, what's very specific for my workflow is I create many, I mean, not many, it's 3 at most UV maps. One is for the bake map. That's the last map we're gonna need when we're gonna be baking our texture. So call this unwrap map bake map. And the next one you want is a mask map. The mask map is gonna be controlling the scratches or whatever, or dust, or basically the grunge map. So let's create a UV map node. Let's set it to mask map and connect the vectoring. Okay, boom, and we just want to select the mask map, go in UV editing, and just scale it up. I usually scale it by 3 to 5. So you can see it's a bit more scaled now and bigger. As you can see, there's some seaming, but we can fix that by adding color ramp in the middle here. So we can just do it like that. I mean, there's a little bit of more seaming, but we can adjust the factors right here. Okay, so we have some scratching and some dust. So this is for the grays, right? Let's take down specular and up the roughness so we can actually see how the diffuse looks like. Okay, let's have it more like that so it's a bit more visible. Okay, and you can't see the seam anymore. Okay, you can see it a little bit, so you want to, I don't know, manipulate it a bit more. But yeah, you get the idea. So the color is right here. Okay, that seems legit. Okay, maybe let's manipulate it a little bit more. Yeah, just like that. Okay, next thing we want to do is create the other materials. Actually, first of all, is this right? Yeah, that seems right. Yeah, let's create the other materials. So the next one we want to create is the white. So let's take the gray, let's duplicate it and call it white one. And let's just set this to white, or white-ish. Let's go into model, select all the faces we want, and click assign on the white. Boom. We have still the same scratches, still the same everything. If you think you don't want these kind of seaming, you can always scale down everything, so I don't know, it goes more flush. Or you can just have another texture that is more nicer. I don't know. Let's see. Do I have a better one? Is this better? It doesn't look better. Oh, dust mask. I think that was a good one. No. This is always a tinkering process. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, we can just change it here. Let's see how the dust map looks. Huh. It actually isn't that bad. Let's change its color. so it's a little bit more subtle. Now let's up this mask a bit. Yeah, the seaming starts to come up, and that's not cool. So let's check out this one looks. Oh, we're actually not manipulating the right one. Oof. Dust mask. Ah, that actually is kind of better. Let's change its color like that. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okie doke. Yeah, just like that. Let's set it to dust map as well. Yeah. Just like that. So it's very subtle, but I mean, you can kind of see it. But you can always do better than this. You know, I'm just doing it really fast because, you know, it's a tutorial video. I don't want to make you guys wait forever. So, okay, let's make the last one, which will be called orange. Oh, that's bad. Duplicate it first. Orange 1. Perfect. Let's first of all, let's assign the right faces. And now we can just manipulate it. Let's see which color works the best. No, that's brown. And that seems kind of cool. Okay, so the material part is down. What you want to do now is actually bake the materials on a new sheet. Okay, so let's create the image texture that we're gonna bake on. Image texture. And now the cool part comes in. So we take the UV map node and actually select bake map. So it actually bakes on the bake map, not on the other maps. So image texture right like that. Let's create a new sheet. Let's call it test tank. Yeah, let's just call it test tank. Let's keep the stock resolution. Let's copy this. And let's copy it over to the other materials. Just make sure the image texture is selected before you bake. Okay, let's now go in this panel. Let's set it to the cycles engine so we can actually bake. Let's set it to diffuse. Let's disable direct and indirect light influence, and let's set the UV margin to 10. That's what I usually use. Even for big sheets, it's okay. Okay, make sure the object is selected and hit bake. Oh, actually, no. First, what you want to do is, I mean, baking at 128. I mean, that's overkill. I usually do like 30, so it's faster. So boom. Oh, almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Halfway there. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we. Oh, okay. We've run into a problem. I think I selected the wrong map. Let's bake it again. Yeah, make sure you have the right map selected as well, so you don't run into the same issue I just did. Okay, our map is done. As you can see, it's a little bit grainy just because we're rendering at 30 samples, but you can't really see that in game that much. But yeah, our texture is done. So we're gonna save it. Let's save it in a new folder in our game data directory. I just created a new folder called test mod. I actually already did this once, but I recorded it incorrectly, so let's just replace the texture. But yeah, basically you want to create a new folder for your part, and in that folder you want to save this texture. Okay, next thing you want to do is, yeah, I'm going to talk about collection sorting, or my method of sorting or making the collections neat looking. So basically I have a main collection, then under the main collection I have, let's say, tanks, right? That's where all your tanks are gonna be, because I usually use a single Blender project for all my parts. So under tanks we're gonna create another collection, let's call it test tank. And in the test tank, we're going to create a new collection called model. And in the model, that's where you're going to drag this in. This collection with this model will remain as the fallback collection. Because if you're going to delete this mod, well, basically, I'm going to show you what happens. Let's just carry on. I'm gonna duplicate this model and I'm gonna drag it in the main test tank collection. I'm gonna delete the mask map or any other maps except the bake map on the duplicated model, and I'm gonna delete all the materials. And I'm gonna create a new material called test tank text or texture or whatever. And then I'm gonna navigate down to MU shaders. If you have installed the add-on correctly, this is gonna show up, and then I'm gonna select the KSP shader. So since I want to have it a little bit shiny, I'm gonna select the KSP specular shader and set the float of the shininess to 0.04, so it's barely shiny, and copy the image name to this over this gray. Boom. Why is it black? Because there is a bug in this add-on that actually you can fix easily by just removing this vertex color from the new material shading configuration. So boom, as you can see, there is our texture. It's a little bit low res, but that doesn't really hurt, does it? So we have to set a name for it as well. I usually set the name the same as I set the material name for it, and boom, our texturing is done. As I said, the fallback model still remains, so you can hide this and actually change the materials up and bake it again if you want to change the outcome. So yeah, just remember, keep the fallback model in its own collection. Also, if you're gonna have a lot of models in this single blend file, you want to have where you have your ambient occlusion baking, you want to set every ambient occlusion node to only local, so it's gonna bake only local ambient occlusion, because otherwise if you have other parts, even if they're hidden, they're gonna overlap the ambient occlusion baking and you're gonna have very weird bakes. So yeah, just remember that. That's like a quick tip. So yeah, let's hide the model. So next thing we need to do now is actually configure the model and add specific empties and transforms to it, like the collider and the node attachment points. So first thing, we're gonna add the root object. That's gonna be the object we're gonna be selecting when we export. So let's create just plain axis and call it test tank. Okay, when we have this, let's parent the finished model to the test tank game object or empty, and then let's make the collider. Well, there's an easy way to do it. Just select your model, navigate here and click make mesh collider. It's gonna create it automatically. You just drag it in the collection just like that, and it's automatically gonna parent it to this main object. Okay, so now we want to make the attachment points, attachment nodes. So let's create empty, and single arrow is the best empty. So let's drag it up. Let's select the vertex mode so we can snap it to the edge of it. Boom, it's snapped now. So you want to name it node underscore stack underscore top. So that's going to be the top node. Go into the empty configuration panel, so you can see you can change the node size. Let's go with 2 because this is a fairly big part. It's 2.5. It's nothing that big, but node 2 is good for this size. So let's duplicate this empty to the bottom side. So let's just duplicate and rotate it, and let's remove the top part and let's call it bottom. So basically, it just copied both of the things. So you can, as you can see here, you can disable or enable crossfeed or rigid attachment, or stuff like that, KSP stuff. So basically, you need to parent both of these to the test tank as well, the main object that is. And basically, that's done. Your object is now configured. You just need to make the configuration file, of course. So you navigate to the scripting panel here. And as you can see, you have a blank sheet. What you can do, you can hit templates, and KSP config and part config is going to give you some basic stuff with actually some cool stuff that actually automatically calculates volume and mass and capacity, blah blah blah, whatever. But I don't really use that often because I like to kind of quote unquote write my own configs. So what you can do to easily replicate this, I mean to easily make a config, is actually navigate to your game data and navigate to squads folder and actually find a part that closely resembles your part. Let's go into fuel tank, let's take the Rockomax tanks and let's take the 16. Open it and just copy it all and paste it in here. Why is it not pasting? Oh, let's just click new. Paste it in here. Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's name this test tank.cfg.in. You gotta name it like that, .cfg.in, so the script actually recognizes this file and actually exports it with your model. So what you need to know is actually the name test tank comes from this main object. They have to be identical, otherwise it won't export the config file with the model. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete the model section. I'm just gonna add a simple mesh test tank.mu. That's how it's gonna be called. Let's call this test tank. Let's remove all the node stuff because this add-on is gonna generate it automatically. Just let's leave this. Let's make the title test. Let's make this test as well. Let's delete the description as well. Let's just type test in there as well. You can configure the mass as you want. Attach rules, I actually have them right. Where do I have them? Okie doke, let's check it out. Did our part work or did it not? Okay, please load, please load, please load. Okay, oh, I see, we can see the part worked. Nice ambient occlusion effects in there. It is pretty nice looking. Okay, let's stack some of these on top of each other, and let's take a rocket. Okay, the attachment nodes work. That's good to know. Let's take a probe core. Let's add a quick nose cone to this thing. Let's add a vector to it. And let's add some quick wings to it as well. Okay, let's add some quick structurals to it as well. So yeah, just for a quick test. Let's lower this whole thing down. Okay, let's adjust the staging. 4,000 meters per second of delta V. Okay, let's launch this baby as a test flight. Okay, so tanks are looking cool. Maybe they're a little bit too bright, but you can actually find color palettes all across the internet for KSP. There's a restock palette, there's a Porkjet theme palette, you know, there's stuff like that. So okay, let's fire this baby up, thrust it up, and lift off. We have a lift off. Tank's looking cool. Everything's cool. Okay, let's give a little bit. Let's time warp it. Oh, it's shooting up like a dart. Okay. Can we reach orbit in this? Okay, we're at 100 kilometer apoapsis. Okay, 80. But yeah, the tanks work. So yeah, this kind of concludes the tutorial. If I missed something or you didn't quite catch something, you can ask in the comments. Maybe add some suggestions. Maybe I was showing stuff a bit too fast, or you know, stuff like that. Just throw all of that in the comments. So yeah, I hope this helps, and yeah, thank you for watching, and see you later as I burn up in the atmosphere. What a view. Okay, see ya.